So VBS is this week.
It sure is.
Shout out to those who grew up going to VBS.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. Vacation Bible School. It's a rite of passage.
Well, and if you're a pastor's kid, then you have to be there.
You have no choice.
Yeah. For your whole life.
You're still there.
Yep. Still there.
Yeah.
You run through all the classes as you grow up. Go through them all.
And then once you graduate, you just become a helper.
Yep.
And then a teacher.
Yep. Even so, all your kids now are even past.
Yes.
They're all helpers
because they got
now.
rid of one of the oldest class.
Oh, did they have one?
Traditionally,
They have one older?
they had one more year. So Kirsten would have had one more year.
It makes me also think of Good News Camp. Because I remember going through all those too. Actually, I don't remember, but Mom told me I was there before I could even go. I was that young. She said I was there
Yeah.
before I could even participate. And then, of course, afterwards, you, junior counselor, helper, all that,
Yep.
go through all that too. Yep. So if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these. VBS, Good News Camp.
Yep.
Is that still going?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh. And Jared, I know your intentions are good, but what we need is a king.
I don't remember this line.
That's what the guy says to Damon.
Okay.
The guy that's the turncoat.
Yes. Got it.
And that's my co-host, Jared.
The dragons dance, and men are like dust under their feet.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So today we are talking about The Bear, season 3, episode 6, and The House of Dragons, season 2, episode 8, the finale of season 2. But before we do that, what have we been watching? What else have you been watching?
I'm going to continue my streak of the opposite of what I used to do, where I have nothing. Oh, no, I have one thing. That's it.
All right. Well, I've got several.
Okay. All right. We just switched. This is good.
How did this happen?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even know. Sometimes
It's not like
sometimes I look at my list. I'm like, how did I even have time to watch?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Because we always joke about it. I'm like, yeah, Josh, you have so much free time.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
don't. So
Exactly.
somehow I watch things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, do you want me to go first?
No,
It's
I
the
can
only
go.
one thing.
I can go. This is short. I
Yeah.
just want to mention. So it's a movie. This is another thing which will probably be a thing probably for a while now.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm just on a movie kick instead of TV shows, which
Okay.
is not really good since this is more of a TV podcast. But we always talk about movies. It's fine.
Yeah.
The movie. So to preface this, the movie Maxine.
Yes. It's out in
You're
theaters.
aware of this.
Yeah.
So it's on VOD now.
Okay.
But I have not watched the whole trilogy of these movies.
Okay.
Are you familiar with them? Ty West is the director.
I'm not. I mean, not thoroughly familiar. Just yes. But
So this is Maxine's like the conclusion of the trilogy.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, sweet, I can watch that one now. But then I looked back and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen the other two. And I heard they were good. I just haven't watched them. So I watched the first one, which was called X, which came out in 2022. Then the next one's called Pearl. Also came out the same year. So I guess he filmed them probably around the same time. Then he did Maxine, which I think this one seems to be like the biggest
Yeah.
of them. Like he's gotten pretty big now. This is his only movies he's done. He's just done like episodes of TV shows before this because I looked him up. But I really like his style. This movie, so this is the only thing I watched this week was X, but it's very set in the late 70s. Very much like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Okay.
Which I love. The style of it, the way it's filmed. You can tell he loves that, like that period of of like movies, just movies in general, but specifically, slasher or horror movies from that time. The way it's filmed, everything is like that. This actress is now gotten very big off of just these movies. Mia Goth, because she's the main actress in all three of these movies. Okay. Jenna Ortega is in this first one though.
Okay.
Which I was already familiar with her. Everyone else I didn't really recognize. But yeah, it's done really well in the style of that type of movie.
Not for me.
Well, see, it's normally not for me either, but I mean, have you seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre? That was like 1974.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen. I probably haven't sat and watched the whole thing, but I feel like I've seen clips and stuff from it.
So that's like one I would recommend, because we've talked about this before. Anytime we talked about horror movies, I know you're not big into them. I like them if I know it's just not going to be just a ton of jump scares, because I always think that cheapens it a lot. There's some directors that do that specifically, where they don't do any jump scares and it's all just about building tension.
Yeah.
Which Ari Aster is a director of Hereditary, Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
What was his other movie? He did another one. Anyway, he's like that. So I like his movies. It makes it seem more intelligent too. Like when there's just a ton of jump scares, it's like that's what they're relying on. I just don't really like them. But anyway, there's not much of that in this either, which I like. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to mention that I'm in the middle of watching the second movie, which is called Pearl, which is a prequel to this. So it's like in the 50s.
Okay.
Which so far has very much that aesthetic. So I like that he's kind of going through these decades, keeping it very much like even the filming style of this.
Yeah.
Maxine's in the 80s. So anyway, I will, if I finish the other two, I'll talk about them next week. But
okay.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you it's worth checking out though.
But that reminds me, something I didn't watch that we were talking about watching is the Presumed Innocent movie.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
I forgot. I completely forgot to do that.
You got to get on that.
Yeah, I do.
It is kind of long though.
Okay.
It's like over 2 hours. Maybe almost 2.5, which is crazy for that kind of movie.
Yeah, that is long.
Yeah. It's worth it though. So you got a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through it quick. So first I'll say I watched the first 2 episodes of Skins UK after you recommended it.
Nice.
I didn't really care for it.
Really?
Yeah. Not I don't know. It wasn't clicking.
Thought it'd be right up your alley.
Not really clicking with me, no.
Okay.
Just didn't really
You don't like how they're doing, cause I know after the first one they kind of go into like one character per episode. Or they focus on like one character per episode.
I don't know if it's that. I mean, even the first episode was just like, it was all right. It was all right.
All right.
Yeah. Just shouting out Unstable.
Oh, yeah.
On season 2 came out on Netflix. It's fine. I mean, like it's like sitcom-y.
I never really checked it out. I'm aware of it.
I think season 1, the thing was better. Season 2, the premise is getting a little stretched thin. But we'll see. But they also brought in, I forget the guy's real name, but the guy who plays Winston from New Girl.
Nice.
He's new to this season to kind of add somebody in the dynamic.
I like that it's Rob Lowe and his son.
His actual son, right? And he plays his son.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it is, and it's. I mean, again, if you can get something that's and these are definitely made. I feel like they're all like 22, 23 minutes. Like they're not 30 minutes long. If you got something like that, like I'll watch it. It doesn't have to be good. If it's it just has
Seems
to
like
be.
Netflix has a lot of those that are like, just okay.
It's fine and it's funny enough that it's like, oh yeah, because then I can watch one right before bed or something, and just So, just wanted to mention it.
But it basically ends up being like a 2-hour movie, right? You said they're like 20-minute episodes, and there's
then
like
there's
8
normally
of them.
10
Or,
episodes a season. Yeah. True. That
I guess 3 hours or so.
Yeah, I started A Good Girl's Guide to the Murder. This is on Netflix.
Don't know about this.
Yeah. It's the girl, the actress that.
This is a show or movie.
It's, I think, a limited. I mean, it's based on a book,
okay.
and so there's episodes, but like I think it's just going to be a single season because it's based on a book. The lead actress is the roommate to Wednesday in the Netflix show Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
That actress plays the lead in
I
this.
don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all right. I wouldn't say it's fantastic, but it's all right. It's all right. Let's see where it goes.
Funny, this trend on Netflix. It's like
yeah,
they have very few like really good shows.
Now what I watched that I thought was really good, at least the first 2 episodes. Watched Time Bandits on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I have not watched it yet.
This is really good. I watched it with Kirsten, and it's really funny and clever, and I mean definitely like PG. Like it's but this is Taika Waititi, whatever you say his name.
Yeah.
He's writing and he directs the first 2 episodes. I don't know if he directs more, and of course he voices.
He's in it.
He's in it. Yeah. Lisa Kudrow is in it as one of the leads.
Nice. I'm always hit or miss with his kind of style of comedy, though. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't.
I think on this, it's dialed back a little bit because it is kid friendly, and I think it works really well because it's not. So yeah, I mean those 2 episodes join it, and it's it's even kind of, I don't say educational, so to speak, but like even the stuff they're kind of, I don't know, they poke fun at like his parents are almost like comedically bad parents, like they complain that he's like into history, and like they're like, why can't you just be like a normal kid, like just stare at your phone or whatever, like, and then like things are getting rowdy in his bedroom, they're like, oh, are you playing video games up there? That's great. Like, but they're like doing it so over the top that it's actually funny. So yeah, if you have Apple TV Plus, and all you should after our rant last week, so, you should check it out. Definitely if you have kids that are 8 or so. I don't know. I mean, too young, they might not get the stuff. It's not inappropriate or anything, but
the main reason why I wanted to check it out was because I'm assuming, do they just go to like a different time in history every episode?
Yeah, and then
that's awesome.
More than one per episode.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a good premise, and adds for good comedy, and I'm curious when you check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
Then the last but not least, finally watched Challengers.
Nice.
And this movie was really good.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
What do you think of the dynamic of? I'm trying to remember now because I haven't seen it since it first
I
came
love
out
the
on VOD.
story structure and the editing of they have this, they set it up, and there's the match that these 2 guys are having, and they keep cutting back to scenes from different periods of time, and each time you learn more about the dynamic between these 2 guys,
and with her too,
and with her, as this triangle relationship, which then adds new depth to them that then makes the match between them each time like layered deeper and interesting, right? And whether one's going to win or not, and all the nuance of that, and so. And then I love the ending.
Obviously, I thought the ending was really good too,
where he gives him the signal that she has no idea about, and then of course we only know because of one of the flashbacks. So he lets him win, but did he really win?
What did you think of the score?
don't really remember, to be honest.
Oh, that's sad.
It was good, I guess. Like nothing like stood out. Like
Really?
yeah, but I mean,
I love the score of that movie.
I'm sure it's good. I just for that to bubble up, because there's so many other things I pay attention to before score, that it's got to be something that's kind of very unique and kind of, I don't know, a little bit more.
Well, this was for
almost a little more in your face, I think. Like
this was really in your face.
Then I just, I don't know.
Because the reason why, because I think when I talked about it first, I was saying like the score almost seems like it's out of place, but the director intentionally wanted it to sound like this, and it's, oh man, why am I blanking on his name now? The singer of Nine Inch Nails and Atticus Ross. You know, it's their duo. Like they've done a lot of really good scores. So it's them. But the director wanted it to be like a mid 2000s like dance party, and that's like basically with the style of the music over it. Which seems which I thought was cool because it worked for the movie, even though you don't think it would for that kind of movie. But of course I knew they would do it. Like Trent Reznor, I wanted to make sure I'd shout out his name because I love him and Nine Inch Nails. But
yeah, I no. Now you said, I do remember that would be like.
So it's like it's really loud,
and it builds up, especially when there would be intense moments. It would build up like and be like.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Yeah, yeah, which is like it's a tennis movie. It's like why?
What I was gonna bring up is, I mean, there's some cool shots, but man, whatever they made like some kind of camera on a tennis inside a tennis ball, like that was
the coolest.
That was wild. Yeah. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they both the guys were great in it. I mean, obviously Zendaya's great in it too, but yeah. It's funny, the director, I forget his name, like this is his most commercially successful movie, because everything, I looked him up, everything he's done before this has been really, really weird and like art house kind of type movie. So that's why I was like, I don't know if I really will watch his other stuff, but he did great with this.
For sure. Yeah, it was good. All right, we're going to get into The Bear.
Yep.
Season 3, episode 6, Napkins. Tina looks for a new opportunity.
Yep, she sure does.
So, what'd you think of this episode?
I thought this was, I don't want to say one of the best, but it was, I love when they do one of these in every season, I want to say, where they focus on one character. And it's normally ends up being a very good episode of the season, or one of the best. And I thought, I mean, I like her as a character anyways in this, like a lot. And it was just great to kind of see not only like how mundane her life is, but also seeing the whole journey of how she gets to where she gets involved with all of our other main people in this show.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that this episode was directed by Sydney. Did you see that?
I did not.
Which her name is Ayo Adabiri. But yeah, the actress that plays Sydney, she directed this episode, which is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did not catch that.
Yeah. What about you with this episode?
Yeah, I thought that was a really strong episode in general. I think, this is one of the things The Bear does really well.
Last season's one was like the best though. Yeah. With Richie.
Well, see, that was one, but then they also had the one where the pastry chef was in Denmark.
Oh yeah, that one was great too. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They this is like, just like they do this great, and it's when they're, I don't know, at the top of their game, so to speak, when they do these kind of, these and then the chaotic episodes. But
yeah,
they but you're right. It was really good at just showing that mundane of being a parent, and then just going to work but also like seeing really great at showing the frustration of like even being qualified and all these things, but then like they're like, well, sorry, we only hire people that have this degree. So even though you have 10 years experience,
yep.
And it's like, that is the reality out there. That
it is.
It's crazy how hard it is to get, even if you're, overly qualified for something, or have a lot of experience. It's why they always say like, it's more about who you know than anything when you're trying to get a job.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was good. Yeah, I mean, we can get into the more spoilery type specifics, but that's funny. Like the place she was working at was made confectionery stuff, which so she's not necessarily in the industry because she was doing like operations stuff and like
it was like assembly line kind of.
Yeah, but she wasn't doing that part. She was just doing like paperwork and admin stuff. She wasn't working on the line.
I thought they showed a shot of her.
I mean, she might just review and stuff.
Maybe, yeah, okay.
Because like that's why the other job that she was like really qualified for,
right,
was like just to be like the operations person.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is basically what I was doing, and then
I think they always do a really good job of making, obviously for this kind of show, this makes sense, but making the food look so good, but not just the food at the Bear, right? Mm-hmm. Like even when people were making food at their apartment or house.
Yeah.
And like, even just this thing, because I also really like that you would see kind of her routine, getting ready and all that. And so you see this thing she's making in the crock pot like several times. And even that I was like, man, that looks great. But there were specific ingredients that I saw. I was like, oh yeah. Like this looks good. But yeah, so I think they do, because they've showed a few other people at home, doing that too, and they make it look just as great. Not only like these fancy shots at the restaurant, but
yeah. So I mean, there's just a lot of that, but I think what really, kind of jumping ahead, but like what gives the final scenes and moment the emotional impact is the frustrated buildup, like allowing the time to really see her get frustrated, and then she even like blows up on that one guy because he's like, oh yeah, we already filled that position or something, and she's like, take it down, like don't wasting people's time.
She's not wrong, but
so and she's just like at her breaking point, and then the train's delayed. And
everything falls in. Yeah.
And she's just looking for somewhere to kill time and maybe get a cup of coffee. And then you go into this like hole in the wall place. And then, she's been treated like crap for days, weeks now. And then that she goes in this place and it's just chaos and it's like a hole in the wall. And then she's like asking just for a coffee. And then he just like gives her free coffee. And then they give her a free sandwich, and and you're like, oh, and she's like sits down and starts eating and drinking, and it's like you feel that emotion, and like you do such a good job setting that up and feeling the emotion of like just how much a little bit of kindness can go and they had no idea where they had no idea what her day was like.
They were really busy. They were just going through the day.
But then it comes down, again, relationship. I mean, it was a short, just met, but then like they're talking, and then she's mentioning how she's trying to find a job, and then he's like, well, we need a line cook,
Yeah.
And of course, the name of the episode with the napkins, and of course she was crying, and then of course he brings her and then John Barnthal.
Yes.
He's always so great when he's in this.
I had a note about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right before that, when she's walking in, into, because that would be when it was called The Beef.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was great use of Sabotage by Beastie Boys.
Oh, right. Yes.
That was sick.
Yep.
But yeah, John Bernthal, he's one of my favorite actors anyway, but I'm always happy when he shows up in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, and that scene was powerful.
Yeah, my note about that is when they're talking, honestly, like it becomes a really beautiful conversation, but then it's like at the same time, then you're thinking, and then you're like, man, this is really sad too, because you know what happens to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, this is just, but like between them two, what they shared in that moment was awesome. And then, it worked out for her. She essentially from there, she starts.
Right. And then she's just working there. And then, of course, then Carmi comes in and has to take over. And then, and then he gives her an opportunity to go to school and like become like a sous chef or whatever she is. I don't know, all her technical terms.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because she's not the head chef, obviously.
No.
But she definitely is, almost like second or third in command after Carmi and Sydney. Like she's up there. So,
and it's interesting also because I don't think they've ever really mentioned that. Like I had no idea she was there before Carmi.
Right.
So that's a cool little thing to see.
Yeah, well, it's also neat when he's like the picture that they sent. He gets a picture or text message from Carmi. Like like some weird like thing, and he's like, "Yeah, it's my little brother," and he's like, somebody's just so good at something, and and he's like, so cool. It's neat to see him like talking him up and kind of proud of his younger brother, and So no, it was really well emotionally done episode. That definitely one of the better ones this season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So far.
I feel like in like that kind of conversation, we always talk about this show since they shoot it so quick. Not many takes they do, right? But even that conversation, it seemed like I don't think all that was completely scripted, like down to the.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seemed very natural.
Yeah, they almost.
So like, I bet they added a little bit here and there, both of them. So, yeah,
probably.
And not doing many takes, like we mentioned, is part of it makes it feel natural. And you mentioned it kind of almost like a documentary, which is awesome. How they do that. And it's also good for us that watch it because we don't have to wait as long for it to come out.
Well, there's only one other season, so
yeah. But I think they already said it's like going to come out at the same time next year.
Spring next year. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, but you said they filmed them.
They filmed them back to back.
They filmed them back to back. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there was only one storyline, so like not a lot to talk about. Right. And the other stuff, it's just one storyline, which is fine, but it was very good and well done. Just like short and sweet.
And shout out to Sydney directing it.
Yeah.
She did a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is her first time doing it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's pretty common, right? In shows, at a certain point, normally one of the main actors will take on an episode.
Sure, if it's something. I mean, basically, if you're if it's something you're wanting to do. I mean, some people.
I know, like Bryan Cranston did on Breaking Bad at some point. I don't know about. I was just thinking about Mad Men. I wonder if John Hamm ever did on Mad Men. That I don't know if him or anyone else ever did on that show.
Not sure.
Me either. I need to rewatch Mad Men again. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, man, I want to watch that again.
I know. It's so good.
It is. Still one of the best.
But I'm like thinking about like need to rewatch Game of Thrones too.
It's a big undertaking too.
Speaking of which, so
yeah.
Let's get into House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 8, The Queen Who Ever Was.
Mm-hmm.
Play off of The Never Was. As Aemon becomes more volatile, Laris plots to an escape while Rhaenyra looks to press her advantage. Okay. So what's overall thoughts on this episode?
Oh, I'm trying to look and see. I think I had something written down for this. Well, I wanted to start with it. It's definitely the longest episode, hour 23, although there's always that little bit at the end. That's not the episode, but anyway, this is the longest episode of this season.
Okay.
How I'm gonna do this overall thoughts is I'm gonna do a compliment sandwich.
Okay.
That's the best way to deliver it, I think.
Okay.
So
I didn't have anything to do with making this, so
it's okay. But
I'm giving this compliment sandwich to.
Because this show really deserves. Just because we've talked about how it's a very high level, like directing, acting, cinematography, score, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Actually, I'll start with that. All that, there were some really great scenes in this episode. Everything is still top notch, like it has been the whole season in that way.
Well, you were on a stage. You were up there.
What?
It's like the compliments they would say to Joey when they go see
one of his
stage.
Exactly. They're like, man, you were there. You were there.
Can't believe you were up there.
You did it. Yeah. So the show's still operating on that level. Then the negative is this did not feel like a season finale at all. It just felt like a setup for the next season, which was very frustrating. And then, okay, I gotta do another compliment then.
For the sandwich.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next season.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
What did you think?
I think it was an episode 8 in a 10 episode season.
Yes, very much so.
That then episode 9 and 10 didn't happen.
Because of strikes and whatever else.
Oh, they ran out of budget. I don't know. I mean, that's what it feels like. It felt there was moments that you're right. There's moments that are good.
Yeah.
But overall, it felt like nothing really happened. Even though a lot happened, but nothing really happened. Also, just like, did you know about it leaked online?
No.
A couple days early. Because
the whole episode?
Yeah.
Wow.
Evidently, they weren't sending us out the finale until even the critics and stuff, like where they had been sending them to them early.
That normally happens. Yeah, they
the
normally
finale they don't
hold off on the last.
So
yeah,
and then because it leaked anyway, then they ended up sending it to. They were like went ahead and sent a screener to the critics, so which we're not, but not big enough podcast to get this yet.
No, one day when you start getting screeners.
So that was interesting, but then maybe one day.
Yeah.
The other thing that came out is they're doing season 4, and then it's done.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense now since this season didn't do as much as I thought was going to happen. Like if this season did more, I would think, oh, one more season, right, to wrap everything up. But 2 more seasons, we don't know. Could even be 10 episodes, like the first season.
Yeah.
Because to your point, I think it was planning on being 10. Just like we talked, every Game of Thrones season is 10 episodes, except for the ending. First season of this show, 10 episodes. And this, 8. But again, the factors that you were saying, I think.
Well, the strikes didn't affect them because they were not. This is not filmed in the U.S.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then.
Yeah. Yes.
Why? Maybe you're right. Maybe they did run out of budget. And they're like, all right, we can't do this battle, so we're just gonna see everyone just kind of.
That's it. We're out of money.
Yeah.
Just gonna have to end it right here.
Yeah. I haven't really seen much online. I don't know how people are feeling about this, but I can't imagine everyone's like best finale ever.
No,
You know?
no.
So-
no, it was pretty bad as the finales go.
Yeah, especially for them, like we said, just how high a bar they normally are.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of letdown.
I mean, basically, it was all the setup for the penultimate episode for the big battle to then have the final episode, the aftermath of the battle, and a little bit of setup for the next season. But we didn't get those.
No.
Episode 9 and 10.
It's weird, yeah. Down to like we were just mentioning, the final like shots is literally like setting up season 3, episode 1. It's like that's.
So we're gonna open up the big battle, or then they're just gonna cheap out and be like jump in time and be like,
Yeah, I don't. Who knows? Because they did that a couple of times in this season too, where you just see like, oh, a battle happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right, so let's get into what actually happened in this episode. So first, I'm going to do what we did last week and just kind of go through different like kind of
Okay.
storylines. So first, we got the triarchy in Thailand, Lannister.
Thailand, yes.
And this was this part was entertaining. It was kind of funny. It's kind of weird because you're like this guy that really we haven't seen anything about much of all. He's just kind of been like this ancillary character, side character, and then all of a sudden in scenes, and then like all of a sudden now he's like in. It's because and it's just because Eamon like was like, "Hey, I need you to go get those guys to be on our side," and then but once you kind of like get over that part, like this interaction and scene was fun, like him having to face off with the Admiral Shirako, and ended up being a woman, and then mud fighting and all that stuff was funny. And then she's like, we should have some kids with my wives.
Yeah,
like
I had a note about that. I didn't think we were going to get mud wrestling in Westeros at all. I did like though, very beginning of the episode, starting the episode in Essos, which is where he is.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool because we haven't seen that much. And we also know that's where, because it was earlier in the season, the eggs were taken there.
Right.
Which is where Daenerys eventually finds them. So, yeah, it's cool seeing Essos because that's a whole...
another country.
Yes.
All right, so then we've got Aegon. It's a scene with him and Larys. Larys trying to convince him to run away with him and hide out. He's got gold, all of Harrenhal's gold stashed away in Bravos. And they can hide out till the war's over and then come back and reclaim their throne. But all Aegon's worried about is his penis split, and when he pees, it runs down his leg.
Yeah, he doesn't.
They say it was like a hot dog or something.
I don't know.
Something
it is something. Yeah. He just doesn't. I mean, I understand at that point the way he looks and all that. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to live much at that point. So he's just kind of given up, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But like we talked about last week, Larys always has a plan. And so he gets him out of there.
Yeah.
It is funny too, where it's just Aegon just not being smart at all. Where, what does he say something about like, oh, I'll just kill him whenever he shows up. And then Larys is like, no, that's not how it would go down. Like basically is what
Yeah.
And then Aegon's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Then we've got Rhaena.
Yeah.
Finally finding the wild dragon.
That was like the very final shot, I want to say. Right?
Final, like before it goes into like the montage at the end. Yes. But this was such a weird, because we went to her 3 times of her like in the wilderness for like a few seconds, and then it's like kind of sprinkled through the episode. I feel like, I don't know, just some weird stuff with the way they've paced the editing overall from episode to episode.
Yes.
And this is one of those stories. It's kind of like you could just have a little bit more meat in like a couple of the episodes and then not see for a couple episodes. And that's how they think they did in Game of Thrones more. Like where you'd be like, you just wouldn't know what's going on with these characters for a few episodes, and then you come back to them, and that's okay. This they're trying to like do these little, because where it's most obvious, like the Rhaena's stuff is like this, but then when you get to Damon stuff and Harrenhal, and that was where it was just like so like stretched over almost the whole season versus, you can do some setup and have some meat to it, then not see him for a couple episodes, then show some more meat, not see him for episodes, and then have like the final, because the conclusion was good, and we'll get to that. But anyway, the same with this Rhaena stuff, which, but then you still like, does she get the dragon? Does she get burned to death? Like we don't even know.
Right. And you're right. It is like kind of paced weird with her scenes, especially because I when I watched this episode and it was the first scene with her just like out wherever she was, I almost forgot. I was like, why is she here? Like and then I was like, oh yeah, the dragon. But like, I almost was just like, what is her deal? And then she's just like trying to find shelter and just freezing and like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was confusing.
All right, so then we've got, and this is another one that kind of fits this bill. We have Kristen and Gawain.
Yes.
And it's so random, this scene. And we have
in the woods.
Yeah, with and Kristen having an existential crisis. It's like emo Kristen.
Oh yeah, next season he's going to be full emo. That was my quote was actually what Kristen says.
Yes.
I like the scene because it's just funny how much he's like basically giving up, because his speech, like I liked the line that my quote is from, but then he's basically talking about marching to their annihilation. Yeah. And then he's just completely given up.
So I like the scene from a general sense of like what's happening in the scene.
The dialogue I thought was good.
Yes. Yeah. But what's confusing is, one, it's so random likely in this.
It is,
like, because that's all we see of them, and then also it doesn't make sense what Gawain does. Like the challenge.
Yeah.
Right, like he's like out of nowhere, like there's no like, I mean, there's never been at the they've not had some tension like you would need to, like where he's like questioning him and stuff, like to build that like foundation to where his motives would make sense, where all of a sudden he's like, all right, I'm challenging you.
That's true. Yeah.
Like it's just out of the blue. You're like, what is he doing? Like he just didn't feel like there was motivation for Gawain to do what he did. Now, like what then Kristen ends up saying, like I said, like, yes, it's like great little monologue or whatever you want to say that they wrote for him. But and then another example, this same thing. Then you have the scene with Corlys and the the other Alan, the other brother.
Right, not Alan, the other, yeah.
Yeah. And again, that scene in itself is good and great interaction between the characters. I mean, great, like the line where he's like, "Oh, now like this stuff." Great. Feels like, again, like this little snippet, and that's it. Just
they
dropped
had to throw in
there, and you're like,
no, yeah, I agree.
This should have been in the other episode where there was a lot more back and forth between them, and they should have just like ended it there.
Well, all the scenes with him seem like
a lot of that was like little sprinkled throughout.
Yeah, like so I don't know if it was just
because even before,
because
his wife died, and that they would just have like all of a sudden just this one scene where they'd be there.
So it's just like, did they just film him on that set, and that was it for him for the whole season? I mean, and then just they for the most part,
he does show up to be the hand briefly, and
that's right, but he's barely anywhere else in the season. Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, it's like Damon. It's
he also
like,
goes back and forth from those like that, and you're like, he doesn't have a dragon.
yeah, we're gonna get into people
Just hopping around.
like
Actually,
the
I
end
mean,
of Game
I feel
of
like they've been
Thrones.
doing that already in this. They just didn't even went into it. Yeah. So there's another one. It was just like felt like very out of place from like a pacing
did.
standpoint.
Yeah.
And then we have Eamon and his
Mhm.
stuff, which is also, I mean, not a lot, but like a little bit. So I assume it's supposed to be. I was trying to like because he torches this town,
Yeah,
and it's called Sharp Point.
yeah, a town we weren't familiar with, right? Yeah,
no. So I'm not sure. I guess it's just something he was mad because he went after. At the end of last episode, he got like kind of, hijacked or I don't know. Like he's like caught off guard because they showed up and they have like 7 dragons, and he's like, oh, and then he has to go burn off some steam. But then he goes back to King's Landing and then barges in to Sister and tells her she needs to get on her dragon to go help him fight. And it was interesting to see Allison all of a sudden back from her camping trip.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck? Like, what was that all about, the camping trip? Just need to clear my head, get out in the woods.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
there's some weird stuff. We've been talking about her too. There's some weird stuff with this season with her as well.
But at least, in the moment, aside from last episode where she just decides to leave and then come back randomly, if being there, like her in the moment, like her standing up to Eamon was cool. Like I like that moment from that. But then and then the second time later in the episode when Eamon approaches her again, this time Allison's not there, but then she refused and tells him he's gonna die in the war.
Yeah.
And of course he doesn't like that, but
that seems like a big thing obviously for next season.
Yeah,
that's gonna happen.
But it was also interesting for her to be more direct with her vision. I assume, like, because she up at this point, like her vision's she's muttering nonsense and like.
Yeah, but pretty much everything, all of her visions have come true.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. So it's like, they make sense from that standpoint, but like what she normally says, everybody's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, no one. Yeah, everyone disregards her, which is crazy because they should be listening to her more now at this point after seeing what all has happened.
Yeah.
You know that she's related to. Yeah.
So now we like to like kind of the main stuff that happened.
Because I know, I'm sure we'll have a lot with Damon, but just a quick thing about Jace.
Okay.
I love that they actually pointed it out in the episode because I don't really like him that much anyway. But in this episode, I was like, why is he being such a baby? And then, who's it that comes in and she's like, you need to stop pounding. And he's like, I'm not pouting. And like
his sister / fiance.
Oh, okay. That's why I wasn't sure because these things get confusing in this show. But yeah. Anyway, I was just like, man, this
half sister.
This guy, yeah. So that makes it okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. She calls it out.
Yeah, I love that she did that because he was being because he's always kind of whiny, but it was worse.
It's like almost episode. Starting to be like Kristen 2.0.
Oh yeah,
or
in a different way, but similar.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like a little bit a little side thing before they're involved with everybody else. But yeah, so we have Rhaenyra finally declaring war.
Yep.
And then we've got the stuff with Ulf. Ulf drives me crazy.
I know.
There's another one. So he, like, the interaction there, it's like this guy was bragging that he was before in the right. He was bragging, and then when he's finally there, he acts like an imbecile.
Yes.
And I get it if they wanted to add some comic relief, and it's like he's not even trying. It'd be different if he was. I think if they had this where he was trying to, like, but he kept messing up, like he was trying to be,
right,
like trying to fit in and follow the
for no reason.
Yeah, and trying to fit in and trying to do the right thing, and then he keeps messing up, and that could be funny and it would make sense. But this, like, it's just didn't work for me at all. Like,
no, and even the way he talks to Rhaenyra directly,
so
like,
disrespectful.
What?
Yeah,
yeah,
and I feel like because he was like pronouncing her like he stood with her in the first maybe the first early times that we saw him in the pub, because then he like shuts up real quick because then Aegon comes in with his posse,
right?
And but anyway, just I mean, hopefully he's the first to die next season.
I know. I can't imagine him being around.
Like the other two guys are great.
Yeah,
the other two guys are great. He's just an idiot, an imbecile.
The thing is, though, just like with Game of Thrones, like someone that you really hate as a character, when they do die, they usually die in a very horrible way. So like it's pretty satisfying normally.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, they did this well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
One can only wish.
Yeah.
And then Rhaenyra and Adam fly to Harrenhal after Simon Strong sends warning that Daemon might be traitorous.
By the way, I know we don't normally talk about cinematography in general, but that shot when she lands is really,
yes.
What I'm talking about, when she's walking out. That looked awesome.
Yep.
What would you call that shot, though? Because I didn't want to say it was like a wide shot, because it seemed like ultra wide.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was like almost the whole steps.
Yep. And also really shows scale, which is also why it's always good. And that's...
And they do that well.
Yeah, it's always important especially when you're dealing with like something like a dragon that's that needs to be bigger, and so it was a cool shot. So she has for there, and then we get Daemon goes to the weirwood tree with the
Godswood. They call it the Godswood.
That's a weirwood. There's two different.
The tree. Okay, yeah, I was wondering about that because the tree's called that, but she says I'm going to the Godswood.
Oh, well,
which is like, is that the area? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. So this is where he gets a vision.
Yeah. Well, before that,
what?
Did you see the little thing that was like scurrying around by the tree? No?
I don't think I noticed this.
When they first got there, so she wakes him up. He's sleeping.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, I'm going." As soon as they get out there, by the tree, there's like this little dude with horns.
Oh.
That like walks by. Did you miss this?
I missed this.
This is Darth Plagueis all over again.
Well, it must be when I'm watching something and taking notes, I look down and take notes and then miss things.
I have not looked this up. I'm sure book readers, I guess, know what this is, but it looked like I don't know, just like a really short kind of dude with horns. I don't know how else to explain it.
Like a gnome with horns? Like a gnome with horns?
Sure.
I don't know.
Kind of. It's, you don't really get a good look at it, and it's only for like 2 seconds. But then it kind of like disappears. And then you see Damon's reaction to it, like he saw it, but then he doesn't say anything. And then he goes up the tree, and then
Of course, he's
the
been
vision.
saying things on and off all the time.
Right, so that's probably
he's
why
like,
he-
I don't. Was that real? I don't.
It's just weird because we don't really see much of that kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
in Game of Thrones. So anyway,
Right,
yeah,
so-
write in if you know what that is.
Yeah, let us know. So what'd you think of this vision? Him seeing the vision.
I thought it was incredible, like the visuals of it,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they do that when he steps down and it like. You can explain this better to me because you know what I'm talking about. It's almost like it spins.
Mm-hmm.
He steps, but then it spins like the whole and transitions into. It was almost like a transition.
Yeah.
I love that because he's like stepping into water. I want to say.
Yeah.
And then it anyway I love the style of this. I don't think it was necessary what they showed, but besides that I thought the visuals
Yeah.
were cool. What about you?
Yeah, visuals are cool. The idea from a story standpoint, like, is what it's kind of weird to me. Like, this is what, yeah, because then obviously, spoilers for 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But this is what changes his mind. Or,
Right.
Like, he was so ready to, basically go to battle with his wife.
Yeah. And then he sees this bigger threat, but it's like he's not going to be around for it.
And also, like, it just seems out of place for his character.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been that selfless.
No, but also he's gone through a lot this season. So maybe he's just not thinking. No, you're right, though. He wouldn't normally just quickly turn.
If anything,
like
he
that.
would think, well, then I need to take charge to make
Yeah.
sure this happens. I don't know. I also think it's funny that visuals, they did not show, what's her name?
Daenerys.
Yeah, his face. So they must have used somebody else.
Yeah, oh yeah, I figured that was.
So they'd have to
just
pay
someone
to
else.
have her there. And
Yeah.
even or be able to even use her CG face or use a
Right.
clip from a previous. So,
Yeah, I was wondering who was, because obviously the three things is her with the baby dragons, the Night King,
Yep.
which he looked different also. I think it was different actors that played him at like different times in Game of Thrones.
okay.
And then the other one was the Three-Eyed Raven,
Mhm.
which that looked different as well. So I don't know if they're planning on this to take into another show, because we're getting another show
Next year.
next year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it that's gonna have any of that in it or not, and they wanted a specific actor for it. So
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
anyway,
Maybe.
by the way, a little side tangent. I love when HBO does those little montages, like, hey, this is what's coming up soon.
Oh, yeah, they dropped after this. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes, there's some exciting.
Yeah, there is.
Mostly, though, nothing. Just seeing clips of the first.
Right, it's mostly stuff we already knew about.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't know about was there was the comedy. It's called
franchise.
the franchise.
Oh, I knew about that.
I
I've been looking forward to
I
that.
hadn't seen anything about that, so I was like, "Oh, okay, that's gonna be good. That looks interesting.
What they show The Last of Us,
Looks good."
it did for the second game. Because I'm very curious how they're gonna do that. But yeah, it looked good.
So back to this.
Yeah.
And so he sees the vision. So then when Rhaenyra shows up and kind of confronts him, and I did this scene was really good.
It was.
The way she kind of says it and steps back, kind of
And then his speech also. Yeah.
Yep. But then he pledges to her, and all this
His
potential
army, yeah.
will he what is he gonna do all season leads to nothing. And
Yeah.
he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna support you,
Yeah.
as a loving husband. And
I like how they made the joke where he's like, I thought you were leaving me, or it's something like that, and he was like, I tried. That was funny.
oh, and then she's like, never do it again, you're dead.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. So then back at Dragonstone.
Mm-hmm.
And who would show up? Alicent
Yeah.
secretly shows up.
Yeah. How'd she do that? We will never know.
She went camping again and then snuck in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, that being said, again, as a lot of stuff in this, like, he can kind of wave your hand away and that, like logistics of the story and whatever. But in the actual moment of the interactions between these two actresses, so good.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Yeah, one of the best parts of the episode, I would say.
Yeah. Like her basically admitting she screwed up,
mm-hmm.
and basically saying, "Hey, when Aemon leaves,
Aegon.
No, Aemon. Aemon leaves.
She's talking about Aemon, not Aegon.
When he leaves, then she would open the gates and just surrender, right? And then Rhaenyra is like, "Well, for that to work, Aegon still needs to die."
That's right.
And she seems to kind of like she's kind of like, yeah.
Not only that, like she's like, I need to kill him in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, all this stuff they're setting up is really interesting.
But also, it's also like kind of what I talked about last episode.
Mm-hmm.
The end, like they were definitely leading. I'm like, man, how are they going to balance this back out? But the thing is, they don't. But also, it was something, I don't know if we talked about it, or maybe I was just talking about it after. But I don't know where this history goes. And it's like at some point, someone has to win and end up on the throne, because I don't know where the steps are in between, but we know where things end up. Game of Thrones. We know that there was a Mad King,
mm-hmm.
and then Baratheon, Robert Baratheon, came in and killed the Mad King, and then he was the king. Robert Baratheon.
Well, Jaime is the one that killed.
That's right. Jaime's the one that killed him,
because he has the sword.
So that Robert Baratheon can then take it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, at the start of the show, he's the king. Yeah.
So,
well, actually, in his vision, he does see Rhaenyra on the throne. Right. Daemon's vision.
Yes.
So, whether that happens or not, I mean, I guess you have to assume it does, because the rest of those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, are they just saying like, she will win? I don't know.
And then we get our closing montage. Lots of little things. And we see Larys and Aegon
going out of the city.
Mm-hmm. We see Otto briefly in a prison somewhere.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
He looks imprisoned.
Yes, he does.
We don't know
where
what happened to him.
By who.
Yeah.
And then I just had a note about, and then the closing shots with Rhaenyra and Alicent and the framing and stuff was really cool.
The cue, the score over this section was great. He always does. Ramin Djawadi, this show, Game of Thrones, Westworld even. He's done it with a lot of shows. He'll do normally like a longer cue over like an ending season. I don't remember as much this last season, but he did a lot in Game of Thrones. And this one really stood out too. I thought was really good. It starts right before the montage, I want to say. I think it's when Alicent is leaving. Yes, that's when it starts. Yeah. And goes to the end. But I wanted to shout that out.
Yeah. But that super wide shot with all the little, from the backside of the library or whatever you want to go, with all the scrolls, and then it's just like the little open triangle at the bottom, and you see Rhaenyra right in there. Yeah. And then it transitions to the same framing, and then Alicent on was it like a cliff or something?
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
It was. But I don't know why, like, because I knew, especially because of the music they were playing too, like it makes you think like, oh yeah, we're getting close to the end of the episode, but until it stopped, I was not thinking like, oh, this is it, and that nothing else afterwards.
Yep.
And then I was pretty bummed.
Yep. So yeah, I think lame as the word I wrote down for like season finale.
Yes.
I don't get it. I don't get
either.
Yeah. So we've got a while.
Probably 2 years.
Yeah, like roughly 2 years.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get
2 years from last season. Yeah.
Season 3. So yeah.
Hey, at least they're gonna maybe now they'll do it to where there is a Game of Thrones show every year.
Right. I mean, but then this has only got. I mean, they only have. I mean, 2 seasons of more of this.
Right.
So they're gonna have to start a third one at some point.
True.
If they want to keep that up, but
at that point, they're just like, we're just gonna remake Game of Thrones.
No.
No, I agree. Don't do that. It's just, I'm sure they've thought about it though. Yeah.
Too soon.
I agree.
Yeah. So all in all, the frustrating season, I think.
Yeah.
Like there were some moments that were good.
Yeah, some really high highs.
But like, just.
Yeah, I thought this season
had higher hopes for this
yes,
season.
I did too. And it got there at some points.
Yeah.
But
just most of the time it was kind of slow and just lots of nothing's happening.
Yeah. And not as much as I thought there would be even in the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
We see a lot more dragons in general. So I'm wondering if that is a lot of the budget. Like because I mean, I've mentioned many times since we've been covering it how good the CGI looks on the dragons.
Yeah.
We see a lot of them now. So maybe
they cut into the budget.
I don't know.
But still, like, you should know that going into it, and then you write,
you should
write your season appropriately.
Yeah. Because we get pretty little dragon, like just in general, what we see of dragons in the first season. I remember there's not much at all.
Right.
So, and that was 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. So what did you guys think of this season finale of House of the Dragon? Let us know. Are we wrong? Was it the best ever?
Yeah, write in if you love this finale.
Yeah. You can write/email at feedback@screentimepod.com or leave a comment on YouTube or, send us a DM. If you'd like to, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
Okay. We'll catch you guys next time.